Are you a type of person where you are making meals for those who just had a baby, or maybe you're helping clean their home because they had surgery, or doing errands? But when it comes to yourself and taking care of you, taking a break, there seems to be this giant wall that prevents you from taking downtime, taking time for yourself. I have been there, and I have some insight for you on the reason why this could be a struggle for you as well. Hey friend, do you feel frustrated or alone in your relationship? Or feel hopeless of life ever changing in your family? Would you love to become unstuck, learn to heal, and connect with what your heart enjoys? Well, I am so glad you're here. I'm Christina, married 16 years to a neurodiverse man, mom of 3, and many more roles. Welcome to the Women in Neurodiverse Relationships podcast. Grab your Sanity Latte, listen in as we take another small step on the journey of intentional living. Come with me as I go back in time when I had spent already about 4 years in doing diapers and pull-ups and the whole bathroom biz, the busyness of life with young kids, and just the exhaustion of having a baby and having kids who were 4 and 5 years old and trying to be up in the middle of the night when the baby needs to be fed, but also up early in the morning for when the kids have to go to 4K, and the exhaustion was real. Plus, honestly, dealing with diapers and pull-ups for that many years, you start getting tired of it, right? I was able to find very quickly where are the best sales for diapers, and I always had a bigger size of diapers because you never knew when all of a sudden in the middle of the night your kiddo was going to not fit anymore in those size 1 diapers and you need a size 2 pronto. So I had a habit of keeping those other bigger size diapers on hand. And it was a challenging time. And honestly, there always is a challenge, right, when you're in a neurodiverse family. But in that stage, there was this, from physical effort and just lack of sleep, this exhaustion I had. And I did not know back then how to really advocate for myself that I needed a break. My viewpoint was whenever everything worked out schedule-wise, where maybe a family member was able to be over at the house, or maybe it was a day where my husband's schedule allowed for him to be at home and I could get away. But finding time for me to get away out of the house with clean clothes on, with no baby spit or other types of biological materials on myself, the ability to have some makeup on, and the fact that I don't have to think about, did I pack the bottle? Do I have the extra diapers? Do I have the backup outfit? Did I remember to grab the stroller? Not to have that in my mind, just to be able to go out and have time for myself. For me to ask for that was very, very difficult. And I wonder if you have found yourself, or maybe even at times now find yourself in this situation where you have legitimate needs and you can struggle asking for a break, or asking for, maybe it's, my shoes are really worn out and I need a new pair of shoes, but you are hesitant in asking for that. Whatever that might be, there's times in my past, and even right now, I can find myself holding back. And there's multiple reasons for this. This is not just a one issue situation. But one of the things that I found for myself was struggling with worthiness, being worthy of getting a break. And there's many reasons for this. Part of it is that I saw the great need. And whenever I left the home, there seemed to be this, everything goes crazy and wonky. Like all of a sudden the stairs stop working and the faucets don't work and refrigerator no longer works and all these like crazy, ridiculous stuff, right? It seems like everything is going wrong when you're gone. And is that the case? Maybe, maybe not. There can be this validation you can feel that I am needed so much in that situation that I can't go. However, it's so unhealthy for us because who can be quote unquote on all the time? We can't. We are not made that way. The previous episode, I talked about how if the Savior of the world deems that he should take time for self-care for himself, what makes us think that we are better than that we don't need it? I found that I would finally get a break. I would get away and I would sit in the car sometimes and I would not know what to do with myself. I'm thinking like, great, I finally get this time away and I didn't even know where to go, what to do, and it came down to the fact I didn't know what I liked at that moment. What did I need? But also there was this underlining lie that I didn't feel worthy of that time away. And that can prevent us from getting recharged and refilled, from asking and requesting for our needs. If you and I don't pause in those moments and reflect, why do I feel I am not worthy for X, Y, and Z? Maybe the worthy is, I want to have a bubble bath. That could be it for you. Maybe it's, I haven't had a new outfit in more than a year. Or it's you going out with a bunch of friends for a girls' night. There's a couple of background items that can impact how we see our worthiness. And it always deals with lies. Lies that we believe, lies that we've experienced. Many times these go back to our childhood, where we had experiences that taught us that we are not worthy. Now, the term worthy means that we have value, we have worth, that we have importance. And anyone in their childhood and adulthood can have experiences that speak to you that say, yeah, no, you're really not worth that much. That is a lie, that we don't have worth, we don't have value. We can allow experiences to become reality and truth. So, I had a teacher when I was in elementary school who had anger issues. And in this day of age, would have their teacher license revoked. There's no doubt about it. And I pray for this person. I pray that she has found peace, because I know her life was not easy at all. But she did mean stuff to us. Example, one time she thought it was funny to state we were all bad kids and had us sit in a circle, and she gave us chalk and she reamed at us and went on how we were such bad kids and bad students. It says, you have to eat this chalk because you're so bad. And if you don't, like, she threatened us with something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was definitely this awful feeling. And then she laughed at us as we ate the chalk. It ended up being candy, but she was laughing, and she did other mean things like this. And sometimes it wasn't oh, you need to eat chalk, but actually it's candy. It was other stuff that she did. Looking back, I can see as an adult, she had issues in her life. She had problems that caused her delight to take it out on children. Very sick and wrong. Again, this person would be out of a job. But back then, unfortunately, there was a different mindset, right? There was a mindset you don't say anything. They're a person's authority. You trust them. And again, I forgive her for what her bitterness and hurt caused her to do in all those other days that she chose to do unkind things to her students. But that event was one of many that taught me I could be laughed at, that I don't have worth. And when we have these experiences that are the only truth we see is the truth we saw in that moment, that can build up to when we're in a neurodiverse relationship and we have needs of sleep. We have needs, maybe there's some financial issues in your situation. We're advocating for money for your grocery bill, whatever that could be, they need to advocate for. And we can feel like, well, I'm asking too much. There's ways that we speak to ourselves without even realizing it, or, well, I can really do without. All these different statements we say to ourselves that says, like, really, we're trying to convince ourselves, you really don't need that. You're really not worth that much work or hassle. And again, it comes from God's enemy, the father of lies. If you're not a person of faith, you may have a different viewpoint, but God's enemy wants to do everything in his power to convince you that you do not have worth and that it is fine for you not to expect much for yourself. So one of the greatest things you can do is to begin thinking the truth. Begin looking at when you begin excusing away what you need. Now, on the other side of this, there is something towards being selfless. We should be willing to give. We should be willing to serve others. But when there is a trend, which we hear about this often in neurodiversity, if there's a trend in certain directions, that is not healthy. We cannot always be selfless, never meet our needs for physical, emotional, spiritual needs, and then assume you can continue carrying a heavy load. Now, again, from a faith perspective, if God's Son can find that I am worthy enough for him to live a perfect life and die for the sins I have done wrong, who am I to say I don't have worth? I don't, because someone else already said I have worth. But also, if you're not a person of faith, think about this question. Do you see others' worth? Do you advocate that others should be treated with respect and with worth, but not for yourself? Why would you say you need to talk to so-and-so with respect and kindness, or you need to show respect to this person because you believe they have worth? But when you don't do it towards yourself, we're being hypocritical, right? We're saying that, well, yeah, these people all have worth, but I don't. And I'm going to ask you to treat others with worth, but I'm not going to expect you to do that towards me. It penetrates our thought patterns. It penetrates our lifestyles, how we live. It keeps us from taking breaks, from honoring God-given limits in our abilities. And I encourage you to really ask yourself, where am I not seeing my worthiness? Again, this is not a I am queen, kiss my toes type of thought process here. This is that if I expect other people to be treated this way, but I am not expecting it of myself, or I don't allow myself to experience those activities, those blessings, whatever you fill in the blank. If that is a mindset, then that's unhealthy. Especially if you have kids either in the home or kids who are watching you from afar because they've grown up. We mimic expectations. So if you have sons, we are reflecting how they should treat their future wives. If you have daughters, you are reflecting how they should expect to be treated. And that was a humongous eye-opener for me, realizing like, oh my goodness, here I'm thinking I'm being selfless by denying all my needs, and I am prepping my kids for a bad reality, that was a big wake-up call for me. Because one, I would expect and want my sons, if God allows them to be married, to treat their wives with respect and to serve them and to find ways to care for them. And I would want my daughter to be treated that way. So why would I not advocate for that myself and be that example? Now, there's another part of this problem, though, is, Christina, that's great you say that. How in the blazes do I do this? There can be two barriers here. One can be our minds can be a barrier. The second can be a physical barrier. It could be, I don't have someone to be with these family members while I go out, or I do not have financial resources for me to do this. If it's the first, it's a mental block, it's a mental viewpoint. That is something that can happen over time, and it will take time. Through journaling, writing down your thoughts. A verse I love is, we take captive every thought, we make it obedient to Christ. So thoughts that are attacking me, I can take those thoughts and ask them to be like, God needs to take them. Those do not follow through with how he sees me and views me. Lots of work in internal thought process is important. And we will talk about this in the future. This could be a whole series, actually. Now, the second is those physical barriers, whether it's having someone watch the children, if you have young kids, or maybe it's financially you have the ability to go and do something and go somewhere. I encourage you to get incredibly creative. There was a time span where I didn't have anyone to come into the home for me to get a break. So I found ways where I would have the kids do a special movie time for themselves, and I would go take a break for myself in a room. I would check on them as I needed, but I took a break. I got away. In fact, I would prepare ahead of time. I would possibly have a special meal that I bought ahead of time, or I made a special meal. I had my favorite drinks. I had a book or a candle, or maybe there was a movie I want to watch. I set things up just to be a special moment for me to get away. Did I have moments when it didn't go well because there was a meltdown because someone changed the channel or someone changed the movie that was being watched? Yep, I had those. But for me, just not to do it because there could be a couple of roadblocks, that doesn't make sense, right? So getting creative, sometimes it was early in the morning, I found time to cut away from before anyone woke up, and I found ways to give myself that time of things that I need. Or it was in the evening. Eventually, I did have found ways to be able to get out of the house now that my children are older. But you can do swaps. Maybe there is another mom where you can say, guess what? Can we just swap like once a month where I'll watch your kids, you watch my kids? Maybe there is a grandparent you can use. But even if you have to just do it in the home, still do it. Now, if it's a financial piece, the physical barrier, I really challenge you to just start small. Nature is an amazing ability to reset our mind and our thoughts, being out in nature. Even in wintertime, I've taken walks out in the wintertime, and it's amazing how the quiet, along with the small sounds that you hear with the snow or sometimes with the ice on the tree branches and a few birds here and there, how that can be resetting, along with any time of year, whether it's spring, summer, fall. Being outside can be such a great way to rejuvenate your soul and your spirit. Also, going to a park and reading a book. Maybe you're saying, Christina, I actually have mobility issues right now. I'm not able to get around like I want to. Then maybe it's just driving to a park and you're rolling down the windows and you're reading a book, or you're just watching nature pass by. There are things we can do to take care of our needs And to say like, and when you do this, when every single time when you feel like, this is going to rock the boat, this is going to cause problems, or I don't feel like, I don't really need a break. I mean, I can keep pushing on as like you're dragging yourself across the floor. And you convince yourself like, I don't really need it. When you're talking yourself into, that's a sign right there, right? That's a sign. And when you push against that and you say, no, I would want any other person to have the ability for breaks, the ability for needs being provided. So I am going to do the same thing for myself because I am worth it. And again, I go back to the fact of my faith belief. But you can use, if that's not where you're at, you can say, I would do this. This is what I would want for anyone else. And in fact, I am pretty darn sure that you have done things for others. You've brought meals. You have probably watched people's kids. You have done things for others because they had worth, so they could have a break, so they could have time for themselves. We don't want to be hypocritical, do we? I hope this gives you some ideas on what you can do to just begin this process of caring for yourself. And this is a big roadblock, feeling that we are worthy of having time for ourselves. Let me know, either send me a message through Facebook or Instagram if this episode touched your heart. Love to hear from you. Hey, thank you for joining me today. I pray this episode gave you encouragement to take one small step. Would you be willing to help other women like you find this show? If so, leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like more information on living in a neurodiverse relationship, check the show notes on how we can connect.